Hail, hail! CeltsAreHere here, and wow, didn't that go exactly the worst way absolutely possible? We're coming out live to do a wee bit of match reaction to this one. There's a lot going on in the aftermath of the game. We'll just get stuck straight right into it in case any of you are watching this after we've been live. Fist bumps to you all. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Make sure to hit the like button. Thanks to everyone tuning in live. I see you all, and I'll get some audience interaction involved in this one because there's a lot to take in from this one. I did say coming into the game, and kind of reminding the record as it were. If we lost by 3, certainly it would have been full on meltdown. I think from myself, we lost by 2, which is basically the same thing. Let's just have it right, And it feels like it is tipping point for a lot. I'm not the only one in thinking that this was on the cards. If we didn't win today, there would be fan backlash. There was another kind of video or two. This is kind of refreshed. I had a video sitting there, but the time, it was this one. There's plenty of fan backlash coming out after this one, and it was to be expected. And I think one of the biggest problems with everything that's happened today, where we are in the league right now, of course, Wilfred Nancy is going to bear the brunt. He is at the coal face. He is the man with all the weight of the world on his shoulders when it comes to being the Celtic manager, because a lot of this is of his making. I'm kind of like forever flip-flopping on Wilfred Nancy, because for everything like good that he can show or do and potentially offer us as Celtic fans and offer the club, etc., something else happens that just really undoes the goodness, whether that be his approach or his tactics in press conferences, which I've tried my best to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt with a lot of the things he says when possible. But the change of style, the way it's went, I think we can all see the promise it has. I think we can all see that we can kind of do it, but we all know that we can't actually full on do it. And so I think Nancy really hasn't done himself any favours. I think in the circumstances that we're in, if he did just come in and play very similar to Rodgers and O'Neill ball, and maybe he's seen some tweaks because that's kind of the way he presented himself on arrival, and we still had the same results, I don't think he'd be copping much flack. I think he's put a big target on his back with none. I say I'm not really against overly the change of shape, but this is a situation of his own making, essentially, and there's just no hiding from that one. Sadly, I'm not sure he can survive this one, to be honest with you. It's a really big one. There's a lot of you guys wanting him to go, and I think this is the point from RL that I would really like to pick up, because every time we've covered any good positives that we've had with Wilfred Nancy, generally it's been first half. I'm going to say it's like 99% first half goodness. And again, I've seen this in the pre-match when we're coming into this game. It was a concern still that I had, was that we are still figuring out what we need to do. And normally when we get to half time, you don't feel that we have any opposition, and not opposition analysis necessarily, but everyone else adjusts at half time to deal with something that they think we're weak in. And coming out for second halves, we don't have any of that. We don't try and exploit something in the opposition. We don't try and double down on a side of strength. We don't really change anything at halftime. And when teams can get 15 minutes with the manager and their whiteboards and their flip charts and their pens, and they can chat and sort everything out, and I've got this guy for pace, this guy keeps leaving me at the back post, or all that kind of stuff, we are just we're giving people a heads up. We're giving people a head start when it comes into the second half. And if we've not done the business in front of goal first half, then we can be cut adrift really quickly. And I think that's the way the game went today. We will have a proper breakdown like we normally do on the channel, where I'll go through the highlights as well as match ratings and stuff like that. We'll talk about it in more detail. But one thing I did want to slam up is I wanted to hear, I heard it on Sky right before the Dundee United coverage came on, but I wanted to hear what he said to Celtic TV after the game. So we'll listen to this for a minute.
Can I have your assessment of this afternoon's match?
Well, yeah, kind of a same game, I would say. Really, really good stuff. Obviously, we should have. We had an outstanding first half. I think that we deserve many more. And after that,
I'm on board with him with this.
We were so good offensively, but also defensively in terms of also defensive transition. And after that, we conceded 3 goals on the throw-in. So this is difficult to accept. At the same time, this is a bit the reality. So again, we're gonna keep working, because I think that today we should have been we deserve more, but at the same time, we don't deserve more because of the way we conceded goals.
Again, I don't really mind any of that. And I know from when we did the press conference thing like yesterday, some of you can't handle listening to me anymore, and I totally get that. This is a 2-minute clip. We're already 50 seconds into it, so it's not going to be a long segment. First portion of this is kind of fair play.
It's almost hard to believe, given the first half performance, that the game turned out the way it did. Can you explain or put your finger on what changed between the first half and the second?
Like I said, I think that if we concede goals, on the play, open play, yes, but we didn't concede goal like this. I think that this is the focusing, the mental intensity that we have to keep doing. And after that, obviously, after the second goal was difficult, the energy was difficult, and we conceded the third one. And after that, obviously, it was tough. But again, my player did really good stuff. But this is kind of the same game, actually. And we have to be strong. Things are going to work out for us, but it's true that this moment we have this kind of situation. This is difficult to accept, but we're going to work on that to turn things around.
You know what a match like this means to the fans, and you've spoke of understanding that yourself. What would your message be to those fans going home frustrated and watching around the world today?
Yeah.
This will be interesting to hear, and then this will be the last segment of it, everyone.
Yes, so difficult for regarding the mood of the fan, because again, they deserve better. But I think that they really enjoyed the first half, and I think that they were pushing us to score more goals. And after that, the disappointment could be also understanding regarding the way we finished the game. So the way we concede, I would say. So again, I think that everybody saw what we are able to do. I know that in terms of results, yes, this is difficult, but we need to be more consistent, and we will.
A lot of you are saying he can't survive this, and I'm kind of with you on that. When I do think this is like so. Nancy, there was a great comment as well that we've got on screen here from Chris Brown. Tough to legislate for all the sitters being missed. I think it's really hard to legislate. Schmeichel was cost Nancy 3 or 4 goals, I think, and especially today, very crucial ones. Austin Trusty, sadly, I think actually Anthony Ralston gets credited with the error led to goal. I've not seen the replay back to see how it actually unfolds, but Austin Trusty has to be coming across. We said in the pre-match, and it was evident the whole way through the game, and it was the one moment in the match where Trusty hesitated in his role of, you are the sweeper, deal with the striker, deal with the target man. If he's on the ball and you're not near him, get near him. And it is hard to legislate for some of that stuff. You're quite right there. But on what a lot of you are saying there in terms of he can't survive this, I'm kind of with you now, because Nancy, coming into it, any manager, Celtic manager, any other club, doesn't matter. You're going to get that. You're going to get like 3 games grace, I think. I remember a really interesting statistic when I used to gamble a lot more, and it was, new managers, like the chances of them winning their second game is like super high for some reason. It's maybe a bit outdated now, right? But generally, I think we can all accept, and you can all feel with managers, 3 games, it's not quite carte blanche, but you give everyone that kind of grace period, that kind of bedding in period. Sadly for him, his first 3 games was either kingmaker or baptism of fire, and fire it was. And beyond that, you're living game to game, what you're seeing in the pitch, how you're performing, goals that are being scored, how the players look, how the team looks, etc. And Nancy, throughout the 8 games he's had, is continually spent all the credit driving the way he's been driving. Now, I think he's had some tweaks in the system. I think he has had to make some alterations. And I think overall the team has got better playing his system from the first time we've tried to play his system up until now. But I'm not sure there's much more time that can be afforded to it. So I think Nancy has cost himself a lot of time. Had he, again, I was reminded, it kind of came back to me when I was listening to some of the post-match breakdown stuff. But again, Joe Hart, very famously, when he retired, was asked about a lot of stuff. And he said Brendan didn't do any different from Ange until like December, January time. And Wilfred Nancy would have been very wise to heed some of that advice of come in and literally do what he said he was going to do. Keep things the same, but maybe tweak it. Maybe Ralston at right back, you just are going to be a back 3, and Tierney at left back, we're going to give you more freedom, yada, yada, whatever. And even if in those situations you maybe draw here, we maybe still might have lost to Hearts or whatever, wouldn't have been great. But again, everybody would have still been on board with the squad is very derelict of talent. It's very much needing reinforcements, and the board's operations would still, those would be the things still on the dartboard. I don't think that's the right thing to say, but there you go. Whereas I think he's really made himself a lot of problems, and he's spent a lot of points. He's spent a lot of the grace that anyone would get. In the 8 games, losing a derby, losing a final, losing at Hearts, only beating bottom of the team and only beating 10 men, all the nice halves and all the nice sequences of play, they kind of wash away, don't they, and mean very little very quickly. So I kind of do agree where I find it increasingly improbable that we wake up tomorrow or even we finish the day with Wilfred Nancy in charge. But there is something that when you listen to him there and when we've heard him coming into the game, he feels rather confident that he's not going to get bagged. And again, there's been some parallels drawn to Rangers managers with Wilfred Nancy in the last week or two, which, you know, this is fair game, and I get where they come from for the most part. But another one of those kind of things is I remember seeing Rangers managers being very bullish about their position when fans were at peak meltdown and going kicking off and crazy. And, you know, Clyde Super Scoreboard was at peak vintage years. And a big part of that, and we all kind of knew it as Celtic fans at the time, was contracts, was compensation, was clauses and how things are constructed. And Wilfred Nancy probably knows that it's just like impossible for the club to sack him maybe within the first 3 or 6 months without it being like some crazy payout that we know Celtic would never pay that money to save any points that Nancy is going to hemorrhage until March the 1st or May the 22nd or whatever the hell the date is going to be on the contract. And I think that is still something that will keep him in a job potentially. If Celtic are too tight, if Celtic don't want to admit defeat. And I kind of move my scope on this now to the club, to the board, who were very much pictured and even featured very prominently in the match with not only Celtic fans singing about the board, but Rangers fans singing about the board. And we were chatting about this in the preview. We were chatting about how it was like all the journals that they let in like all the Blue Beaks, they let in all the guys from the Red Tops, and the whole press conference. We didn't find out about one player availability. We didn't find out one thing about the manager from a tactical point of view or anything to actually preview the game. Everything from the pre-match press conference was about the manager. And fair enough, that is a story, a narrative that has to be satisfied. We get that. But in a pre-match press conference, like I say, so the board have let more of them come at us in that regard. You look at Celtic Park today and the Green Brigade aren't in the building, and you look at the away support that they allow Rangers to bring in, especially given the context of away support in the derby match over recent years. It's beyond negligence. It's getting to and I know everyone's going to say it's been like that for ages, and yeah, fine. But even the most the most steadfast in support of the club and the board cannot now deny, you know, the situation where we're playing a derby match, a must-win derby match. And surely if they're backing the manager, bring the fans back in, because we might need that 12th man on the day. And, you know, actually went the opposite way. By 75 minutes, half the stadium was outside the front door waiting for them to come out, like we've seen there on Twitter. And Rod Stewart was in the building as well. I'm not too sure, Hacksaw, what that means. I'll look into it and get back to you. So the board, so again, this is another thing I wanted to throw out there into this right now, right? Is because Wilfred, there's a quote I'm going to say within the last 2 weeks where Wilfred Nancy says something to the tune of, I could have decided to come in later. I could have been sitting in the stands and comfortable, but no, I wanted to come in now and get to know the players and get 2 hands on the wheel. Martin O'Neill said something very similar on his radio appearance right after leaving Celtic as interim manager, that the manager wanted to come in when he wanted to come in. And for the board to, and you know, in a previous life, I used to be a salesman. I used to do that sort of stuff when I first left high school. And when I think about that, when I heard it at the time, and I think about the club, the board, people doing the negotiations, Nancy must have been a pretty hot target for them. They maybe missed out on a Kieran McKenna, maybe somebody else like that. And again, similar to the Tunetke situation in the transfer window, they were in that position of, we can't be caught with nothing. We need to bring in somebody of good caliber, good quality to back. And when you're going to hire a guy and you say to him, when do you want to start? Or you can start whenever you want. That, like, again, I just get wee flashbacks from being a salesperson like half my life ago. And, you know, when you can't believe somebody's going to buy or whatever, you're just like, yeah, sure, you can pay whatever you want, blah, 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 whatever the terms are, the thing, and all the rest of it. And Wilfred Nancy should never have had the power to decide when he becomes Celtic manager, especially with the situation we were in. I'll say it again. If you beat Rangers in a semi-final, you've earned the final. And we, I think, in unison can agree that the Hearts, Roma, St Mirren, Little Leg, 100% should have been Martin O'Neill's at a minimum. And the club should have been more kind of steadfast in knowing the lay of the land, knowing the territory, and knowing that, you know, we need to not drop points. And if we're going to buy this guy time, let's give him the best time to land. And, you know, we can then get to the window, etc. Now, when we talk about the club again, we've signed Julian Araujo. Quite excited by the signing. Didn't really have much of a sniff today. It kind of, you know, he looked all right. I think nice shot, crossed once or twice. It wasn't too bad. And it's the 3rd of January. It's quite nice that we've signed the guy this early in January, hasn't it? But all the intel coming out from it, I heard a great interview on Celtic Fans TV, Stuart did with Kerry, I think the guy's name was, Kerry Rui. And this is a Sriracha situation where we've been approached by them and we've managed to get the deal done really quickly. And me and you and everyone involved with Celtic since the end of the summer window knows that we need a striker. Today, if we had a striker, we win that game. Today, if we had a striker, we'd have won a lot more games than what we've not won this year. We all know that. And they have the ability to do a deal. Again, if you don't need to work at it, you know, again, I'm thinking about being a salesperson again. You know, you talk to somebody and they say, yeah, straight away. You know, they're like, yeah, I'll buy that. I want it, or whatever it might be. And that's the way we do transfer business. People that are, you know, the fish that will jump in the boat, that's what we're after. We're after those transfers. We're not actually going out there and saying, we have looked all across Europe and you're the striker we want to play for Celtic. We have had to pay a bit more. You're going to be a hero. You know, we need you in January. We need you now. You're the guy. We're not settling for second best and we need you now. Fly in and land. And I know some of these things can be easier said than done, right? And Nancy himself has even said that he'll be giving it all the way to the end of the January window to give some of the current squad evaluation time, which just seems crazy at this point, doesn't it? But for Tisdale, for the board, how you can do Julian Araujo when the fish jumps in the boat. Where strikers that score goals don't jump in the boat. That is somebody you need to go out, you need to court, you need to pursue, and you need to close. You know, you need to close the deal. You need to get someone in over the line. And again, when a lot of people talk about you want better Celtic people or even just better people doing the deals, again, it was something with me and Paul John spoke about on Axon when it came to like the differences between like Ange and Brendan, where everyone Ange signed, they said, I spoke to Ange and like, I don't know where I'm fitting the team. I can't wait, And, you know, Brendan didn't even know who people were when they showed up, you know. So we need to be, you know, Celtic isn't something like you need to sell and it's like, oh, you're begging people to come or whatever, but good high-level talents that have lots of options. You need to really push the case. You need to really make it the landing spot, a destination type situation. Maybe may not be a total destination where you fulfill the peak years of your career, but for some people it'll be that kind of developmental stage, that springboard. Might be their peak, maybe just off the back, depending on who we're talking about. But I cannot believe that we've not got, you know, when you see the Araujo thing and you kind of take a wee second and think about it and you hear about how have they not got a striker in this quickly? It's just a shambles from top to bottom. So Trusty and Schmeichel carry a lot of responsibility for today. Schmeichel carries a lot of responsibility for, I think, 2 or 3 games under Wilfred Nancy. And, you know, I'll say this, we'll do it properly on the tactics board like tomorrow. The video will be out tomorrow at some point. But see, the thing that really done me in with Nancy today, again, was the changes, right? Because I felt that he shat it, right? And what I mean by I felt, so at halftime, we'll go through this properly, right? But at halftime, who did they take off again? Asgard. They took off Asgard and they brought on Diamande. Diamande is a bit nippy in these fixtures. Loves to get like all the fouls and never get booked for it. Where the hell is he? Am I blind? Not that matters too much. There he is. And, you know, they mix things up a little bit. Raskin, I didn't even see him in the first half. But when we were changing the game up and we wanted to bring on Julian Araujo and we wanted to bring on Rio Hatate. Now, I think Negren was better in the first half than I think a lot of people are saying. He didn't play good. He did 0 in the second half. He should have been subbed off. There's no 2 ways about it. First half, I think he was, and again, we'll do this properly tomorrow, but I think he was a little better than what everyone is giving out. So he to come off, and Ralston, again, I think he was defensively quite okay first half. He never really get caught out, doesn't really offer us anything. But see, when we go 2-1 down, the changes he wants to make is he wants to bring on Rio and he wants to bring on Araujo, right? And rather than, like, Yang is the best player on the pitch. We can all see that, right? Yang could have had a perfect hat-trick, left foot, right foot header, had things went his way. And so you're not touching that. You know, this is a position of strength. We have got them on tender hooks. They are bricking it from youngster. So if you're looking at this position, it's Ralston you're taking off, right? Now, he doesn't do that. He takes off McKeown and swaps some sides, right? But I think he absolutely bricked it. I think at that point, he should have put on Tierney. And I think the scrutiny that came his way is maybe what's made him hesitate. And maybe you guys will be sitting there going, thank God he didn't do that, Quinny. That would have been crazy. And maybe that would have been the case, fine. But I think at 2-1 down, if you give pace into this position, which is what you think about the goal, although Trusty doesn't come over and cover the man, Ralston's done for pace, you know, and somebody that's quicker could have recovered that a bit better. But it's the flip side to that. It's we're 1 goal behind. Yang's brilliant, and let's give Yang some support. Engels was amazing first half. Like, I really thought the right-hand side was peak, and I was like, fantastic, man. You build this right with this left, and wow, we've really got a bit of a machine here. And it did kind of go with that first half. Second half, again, we'll do it all in full detail later on. This won't be an absolute coverage of it all. But something kind of dawned on me in this game when we did take off Negren for Hatate. And it really is for me. See, if you do want Hatate to come into this squad, I think it's for McKeown in that type of shape, because I don't know, a lot of people get bemused by Hatate and think, like, I like him, he's great and all that, but every manager wants to put him like up front. And I don't know, he is wasteful. You know, he is wasteful. And do you want to be wasteful at the back? Probably not. But I think he likes to be in these pockets of space where he's facing the ball. He's got time to pick his chin up. And then he's quite happy to run fast and nip and break between the lines and stuff like that. We all talk about those games he played fullback against like Hibs and whoever else. And he was brilliant, those 2 matches. But that kind of dawned on me in this match that, see, like, I kind of thought it with Ralston. He bricked it, not taking Ralston off straight away for Araujo, taking McKeown off and swapping Yang sides. Basically just brought us into the Motherwell situation where when we had Tierney left and Yang on the right, where without McKeown doing that little shift and with Maeda not really having the same support with his little job, the team just went to totally one-dimensional, and we lost everything in terms of patterns of play, routes to goal. Johnny Kenny was thriver on scraps and doing not fantastic, right? But when I say Johnny Kenny could be the third choice striker for Celtic, again, I think like a third choice striker put in a good performance as much as the third choice striker can. The problem is we should have a first choice striker, which we don't. Yeah, exactly. So I've not got any problems with him starting, but I do think this move was shite baggy from Nancy. I think he's not stayed true to himself, because McKeown's been really good. And again, there must be something between him and Hatate. Maybe there's not an understanding. Maybe there's not that kind of relationship between the tactics, the manager, the training, and the player. And it's gelling. It feels quite uncomfortable, doesn't it? Scales comes in. Again, we'll do this all properly later on tomorrow and stuff. But I think if he did what I expected him to do in terms of just Araujo, do you need to take off McKeown? I don't think so. McKeown ran out of steam. You know, he did. His batteries aren't Dyson Maeda's. You know, he did have some spells in the match. Didn't do too great with some of his end product in this match, but positioning was generally quite good. Decision making and metal was generally quite good. Looked for too many fouls in the game, maybe you would say, in the first half. And yeah, McKeown's not going to finish the match. I think we know that. But at that stage, maybe just trusted for Araujo would have been perfectly fine. You tell Tierney to chill out a little bit, maybe, and let Araujo off the leash a bit more, and you really push this right-hand side that would have been working. Squeeze Dyson in behind Kenny, and you still got Negren up here just linking. And that's all Negren was doing that was positive for me, really. It wasn't anything magic, but lots of it was just those little connecting balls between the lines, just sliding it into a wee channel, keeping the play alive, giving it to someone else in a good spot. And yeah, I think he, personally, I think he bricked it from doing what he would have done had all things been equal, had he been in a position of power and confidence, you know. I would disagree. He's certainly got a level. I think we can see McKeown at, well, how old is he? 27, 28. This is like the peak of his career, you would say, probably. But I don't think he's crap or useless. I think he's actually been really good under Nancy. And I think this has been some of the reason for any good times that has happened in the last like 28 days. It's been, hasn't it? And yeah, like I say, we'll go through in a lot more detail. McGregor was okay, I think, wasn't he? Schmeichel can't he play the next match, can he? But again, like we're talking about January. I see. Thank you very much, ThroughTube, for the compliment. I really appreciate it, my man. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. Hit the like button. If you're watching this after we've been live, you'll be in the comment section. It's a great place to leave your thoughts and feelings in case we want to pick up this subject again later on. And yeah, Hatate, like, it was weird, man, wasn't it? It was just like, what are you doing, man? Especially like when he was kind of getting played up front. He kind of wants to do that. He wants to be footloose and fancy free. The team really struggled when under pressure. They buckled in that second half and contributed to a lot of goals. Yeah, exactly, Doc Boy. That's kind of what I'm thinking as you're coming out of the game now. Like, there's no issue with doing business in January if you've got the player, the club, everyone sees this is a good move and we're going to make it happen. And you need to talk to people. You need to open negotiations. You need to approach players. You need to make it happen. People don't just jump in the boat, you know. And, you know, see if they did have a mad empty out, they did sack Tisdale and they did have a clear out, I would definitely take the job on temporary. You know, I would definitely take it on a temporary basis, 100%. I wouldn't mind that at all until they found somebody properly qualified as well, of course. But I would certainly love a bit of that. It'd be good fun, wouldn't it? Imagine. It's hard to believe you can get the full potential of a player in after 4 seasons in this league. More players on sooner. Is that move players on sooner, Mr. C? Is this a Yang comment? I'll put it on screen. And we've had a super sticker as well from 89 AGS. Thank you very much for the support, my man. It really means a lot. Nygren is great, but the positions he picks up give good passing. Yep. He would be a disaster. Well, that's kind of, you know, I'm not going to disagree with you there. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but I'm definitely taking the job for a week, wouldn't I? I'd be all right for a week. I could definitely get by. I said that months ago when discussing it on here. Marco Rose, yes, exactly. I'm with you there. Paul Douglas, he was my top shout. But again, that costs money. I don't think Celtic were into spending money. I think we're into doing the cheap and cheerful. We could work together. Me and Alan play nice. Not Yang specifically, but a point about players losing motivation. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do think like we've felt that really with Hatate, with Maeda. We've lived this life already with Edward and Ayer, etc. So it's nothing new to us. How many need replaced with the manager? That's a great question. I think, you know, really, when I do look at the team, like Maeda's now staying with us because he's probably not got any offers to leave. I think we can probably all agree on that. And I don't know what Araujo's going to be doing in this team, really, to be honest with you, with Yang's performance today. It might be come in and do this, and that could be even crazier. In a good way, in a bad way, I don't know. It's going to be AJ's spot, but maybe the club know AJ isn't going to play again this year, or not until at the very end of the season. Oh, thank you very much, DG. Thank you very much. Do you know, somebody was having a go at, or not having a go at me, but they're saying, I've had enough of this, Quinny. What does he know? And I'm not like a braggadocious person or anything like that, or, you know, not trying, but I did coaching. Like, I have amateur level understanding. I'm very confident in that, you know. I did all right. And I think anyone that played under me would agree that I like to win matches, I like to score goals, but we don't do anything stupid, you know. And I'm quietly maybe going to try and get my way back into football in 2026. So any support from you guys that comes would be much appreciated. Thank you very much, DG. And it's a big part of all the support you guys have given as well, because I know I've done it on the training ground. I know I can manage people and run a team and pick tactics and read a match, make subs, change things at halftime at a level. But since I've been doing this for the last, like, I've not been coaching for 5 years, I guess, but I was coaching for like 7. So yeah, like the last 10 years, I've had like real big involvement in football in 2 ways. And this year I'm going to try and maybe bring it all together in some way. So, you know what? Yeah, somebody else asked that. I've never, I don't know him. No, I'll look into him. I maybe, by the way, there's been, and again, we're having a bit of a joke about this now, right? But there's so many people that I follow online that are people like me that are like fanalists is the word I like to call it. You know, fans that are just mad about football. Maybe some of them even are coaches or whatever. But anyway, even just Twitter accounts I would call fanalists. 2 of them were hired by Como, you know, the team that Fabregas, the millionaires, running in Italy now, this summer. And I'm seeing them all the time getting hired by clubs nowadays, you know, because the eye test. And if you've got like receipts are on the internet, you know what I mean? I've said a lot of things about a lot of players, and yeah, I've got some stuff wrong, but I've got a lot right, you know. So in terms of the Tisdale thing, and I'll say this is the last borderline self-indulgent thing, right? But I genuinely have some pretty good contacts, and see within like a message or two, I can speak to so many people that watch. You know, there's stuff going around there about we ID'd 123 right backs. I speak to people that have watched 123 right backs every weekend, you know, like all the time. So in terms of like having scouts and connections and all that, and somebody that can put eyes on this guy and see if he's the real deal, like I've got that. You know, I bring something to the party. I did apply for a job at Celtic in the summer. We did a video on it. We've had a lot of growth. You might have missed it. It's called I Applied for Celtic. Feel free to check it out. But never. Anyway, I won't spoil it. But anyway, enough about that nonsense. That's never going to happen. Anyway, amateur hour is what we would call my time involved in anything. But anywho, it was a lovely first half where I was like, wow, imagine we scored a few of them. Even if we scored a few of them second half, this could be great. And I was even beginning to imagine Nancy beat them today, like 4-0. Like, what would that do for everything? And that little daydream lasted till the 50th minute or something. And then it was like deja vu in the worst kind of way. And it's beyond comical, where you maybe even come to the point of it's a curse. And again, the whole wrong guy, wrong time, wrong play. I don't really think necessarily, I think all of that is fair and valid. Don't get me wrong. I think it's just so much more of everything winds back to, he should not have been allowed to decide when he starts, right? Number one. And number two, as soon as January opened, we should have been working on strikers since the day the summer window closed. What has everyone else at the club been doing? They don't train. They don't do training. All they do, like, look at what I do on this channel. All I do is scout Celtic and scout players, and that's all they should be doing. But phoning agents and phoning players and bidding. And as soon as that 1st of January window opened, they should have had a big, shiny new striker for us. What are they doing? What are they doing? Really? Raúl jumps in the boat. Deal done in 24 hours, 36 hours, whatever it was. Ralph Rangnick, yeah, he would be expensive. And then this is something I also wanted to say on this kind of like reaction thing, right? Is if I put myself into the club's head, the board's head, right? Because think of the reality that they purport they would live in, right? We've never been stronger. We've never spent as much on the squad, wages-wise. We've had unprecedented success. We're doing a great job. Look at all the money in the bank. They can clearly see that if they believe that is true, right, that they shouldn't have any criticism. The criticism that's coming their way is unfair and unjust. If they feel that way, if they feel they have done way more good than bad over the period or over whatever period you want to talk about, if they genuinely believe that, which they claim they do, then what signifies the goodwill they should have is the cash in the bank. And the cash in the bank is what they need to cash in to restore the goodwill, to restore the situation, and hanging on to all that and nickel and diamond. And I like Araujo, no harm to him, not really anything about him, but loans and guys phoning us for deals, inexcusable. Negligence is where we're at. It is 100% negligence at this point. And with Nancy, like, again, give him a striker, and I'll be very quickly turned, but like we've all said, that even in this reaction show, how do you come back from this? We are level on points. We are level on goal difference with Rangers. We are at the 3rd of January. We are 3 points behind Hearts. We've got 2 games in the Europa League still to go. Imagine we qualify the Europa League and we get more matches to burden us with later on. And I said it in the pre-match, I'll say it now. The split this season is going to be box office. Nothing is going to be decided in this league all the way to the very end. I think Wilfred Nancy isn't going to be gone anytime soon, and I've alluded to why earlier in the stream. In case you're just tuning in now, feel free to jump back and catch it. I think he's probably got another month at least under his belt before any sort of clauses and trap doors can be pulled, or ejector seats and that kind of stuff. So I think he is going to get the January window, and let's just get the bloody business done. And for yous out there that are saying we don't want these guys spending the money, we need a striker. There's some things we just need. It doesn't matter who's spending the money. Every manager wants tall, fast, good football players. Everyone wants that. Wilfred Nancy, Paul Tisdale and all the rest of it, it's about standard and levels, right? But Wilfred Nancy is not going to approve some guy that's some oddity that could only play under his style of football. And if we were to sack him and bring another manager in, would be an absolute dud to us. It's highly unlikely you find a player like that and we would actually sign them in the first place if they're so specific and so bespoke to some sort of tactical linchpin, you know. So I'm not fearful of that. We need striker power. We need a new forward. We need a defender, you would say. I think we all know we need another midfielder because, again, Hatate off the bench gave us absolutely nothing. The only other midfielder that we have in the squad is, well, we've got Ben Summers. Actually, I wouldn't. By the way, see, at this point, where the hell is Ben Summers? Can we not play him? He looked all right. Went away to Austria, got some minutes. And I've seen him in training pictures and stuff, but we've got Bernardo and Rio. They're the only guys to make something of the midfield. And none of them are at it right now, are they? We need a midfielder. We need a striker. We probably need another defender. And as for Schmeichel, you know, he can't be picking up the gloves for the next game. It's just there. Thanks everyone who's tuned in today. Try and enjoy the rest of your night. Try and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll try and catch up with the chat for another minute or two, maybe. Unless you're just talking about everything. I have no confidence in the squad. Stick Ben Summers in goals. Gary Melrose, I don't think so, right? Because I think if that was the case, he would have gave the job to just flat out Sean Maloney or Scott Brown or Neil Lennon, or, you know, like, I think if he was definitely going to do something like that, it would have been a bit more blatant. Maybe even Robbie Keane. I know he divides opinion, and if that's Desmond's pal, he'd be probably quite happy to help his pal and piss people off, you know. So Taylor 2 keepers, yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I would do that. I don't know about it. I like Hatate. Just maybe he's a player that doesn't fit. Well, Calmac thinks stuff this, I'm off. I don't know. Yeah, Denmark have got other goalkeepers as well. You're quite right there. And I think at this point, like, I wouldn't be really against that. Schmeichel's out of contract. What do we owe him at this point? Nothing. You know, we are behind. It's about performance. It's about results. Maybe give the Padawan the lightsaber. Let the Jedi sit this one out. We'll have a full breakdown. We'll look at the match. We'll look at the highlights. We'll break down the match. We'll look at the match ratings and all that good stuff. Video will be out tomorrow. And then I think it's a bit of a week off. We'll try and have, I've got a really big collab, really big, exciting one, pretty much lined up for the aftermath of the derby. Need to double confirm the heroes will still be there to join me for it, but there could be another big collab this week. Otherwise, there'll be a usual schedule of stuff. I'll try and get some topical content out there. I recently did a goalkeeper video where we were chatting about Sinisalo, Schmeichel, and even just the transfer policy of what Celtic should be doing in goals. There's maybe an option or two for somebody in a January window, perhaps, as well as in the summer. So if you're interested in goalkeeper chat, that video's already been out. And over the Christmas period, we did a 3-part transfer series where we looked at players we could be signing domestically from America, and then one that's just kind of from everywhere, but it kind of became a who I would sign video, which was kind of fun as well. So there's plenty of that already on the channel if you want to check that out, make yourself feel a bit better about what could come maybe our way in January or something, I don't know. But otherwise, there'll be tons more stuff like that coming out on the channel. Please hit subscribe for more content like this. Thanks to every one of you for your support on the channel throughout 2025. Thanks for tuning in today, despite the way it's went. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for the breakdown, and I'll see you throughout the week for some other content. Hail, hail, and won the hoops.